So, me, I would like to share with you some reflection about this question of authenticity when it is a replica of a rock art cave. And so, what does it mean, authenticity? And if authenticity is linked to the materiality and the antiquity of the materiality, or if authenticity is, can be also linked with the kind of experience you can have of heritage with a sense of antiquity. And so it is also linked with what Oscar presented with the 3D model. And at some point, so how much it's possible through 3D models to do a replica who give you the feeling of authenticity. So it is this kind of question that I would like to discuss with you with the Chauvet Caves. And so the role of experience in the heritage process through this reception of authenticity, the creation and reception of authenticity when you visit a replica. So just Chauvet Cave, where it is, so where we are and where it is. So it's also, as it is in Vézère Valley, you also have a river. It is Ardèche Gorge. You also have some uses of the river for tourism purposes. And so you have a geologic and geomorphologic landscape quite remarkable. And so you have Chauvet Cave that we already spoke about this one. So twice as old as was of Lascaux. And so in terms of why it's so important in terms of heritage, it's also because this cave, it's a revolution in the theory of arts. And before the discovery of Chauvet, Lascaux was regarding as the climax of the production of rock art. And so with the discovery of Chauvet, it changed all the things to conserve rock art. After, as I said, me, I'm geographer, so I'm not the best to speak about rock art and the perception of the theory linked to rock art. But so the aim also to do a replica, it is because of the age of the cave, because of the place of the cave in the scientific discourses and knowledge regarding the theory of art. And it's also because in France, you have the trauma of Lascaux. So it was a huge trauma what happened in Lascaux in France. And it's also why when Chauvet Caves was discovered, it was an immediate decision to close the original one and to build a copy. And it's not so often, that all stakeholders agree on the same points in the so short time, because it was immediately at the discovery, it takes perhaps 1 week, immediately to close and perhaps 1 week to have everybody agree, we will do a replica. So it's not so so often that we have such a common decision. So regarding this cave, the question I would like to discuss with you today, it's what happened in terms of heritage making process when the challenges of conservation coupled with the challenges of presenting it to the public are addressed through the creation of a replica. The replica that is presented as entirely faithful and which becomes the place where the visitors can experience heritage because the original one is closed. So what does it mean in terms of heritage making process? And also the question of heredity. And so which place is heritage at some point? If it is the original one, but only open for scientists, or if it is the replica where you can have a real experience of the cave. So to go quick on the content of the presentation, so first I will briefly, quickly discuss on the role of authenticity and the experience in a heritage process. And then I will explain you the characteristic of this replica and how they built also this replica to give the emotion of the authenticity in this cave, because not all the replica are done by the same process. Oscar mentioned that very briefly. It's choices that are done for each replica. So the replica you will see Monday, you will see the difference between Lascaux 2 and Lascaux 4. It's also not the same choices that have been done for the two replica of the cave. For Chauvet, it's other choices, and for Cosquer, others, and for Altamira, others. So it's there's different choices also. It is to create an experience for the visitors. And then I will conclude with to present you the result of the work, a research we have done from the point of view of the visitors, how they receive the replica and this feeling of authenticity. So in terms of the link between heritage, authenticity, experience, and materiality, so you have different conception of what does it mean authenticity. So if it is linked with the real, let's say the original materiality, or if it is more something like a symbolic power that you can extend to the replica, and that it not only belongs to the simple criterion of antiquity. So you have several researchers working on that. I will not go through all the literature on this point. But some, for example, sometime in the museum, the picture you have here. So this the first picture. It is linked. It is a museum where it's the question of the pie dwelling sites, other kind of archaeological sites that you have in Europe. And in the museum, what is exposed is replica. But it's replica that, because of the display, the showcases, you do the experience at the replica as if they are the real object. So also in museum, you can have replica and experience this replica as if they are the real object, the original object. And the second picture that I put there, it's the place of memorial of Hiroshima. So for sure, it have been destroyed, Hiroshima. Okay, the building, everything have been destroyed. But so you have now the materiality, the reconstruction of this place to have a memorial center. And so through this materiality, you can experience also this dramatic event of story. So, and the different researchers working on psychology and reception, and also crossing with archaeology. Now you have more and more literature on the fact that authenticity is related more to a negotiation between individuals and the context of the display, rather than to the intrinsic material property of the display and its antiquity. So we can also consider that authenticity, it is this relation between individuals and a place, whether it is an original place or a copy place. So if we are going in this direction, that authenticity is a negotiation between people and object and materiality, we can ask the role played by experience and the role played by the guides also. We start the discussion about the role of the guides yesterday, even if we have visited real and original caves yesterday. We'll started to speak the very importance of the guide, and in order to make the visit a success for the visitors. And the guide, the two pictures I put there, it's so it's a replica of Neolithic village, And then the last one, it is for the Middle Age in France. And so here, the question of authenticity, it's also with another point, because here it's, let's say, what we can say, a fake castle, because it's a volunteer of people for 20 years. They have the project to build a castle as it was in the Middle Age. So it is explained like that to the visitors, but through the visit of the place, the visitor, they have the experience what is a castle from the Middle Age, even if it is a new castle. But they have the experience of this authenticity of castle of Middle Age. So it means also it underlines the importance of how to present the materiality with to create this authenticity and differs the sense of pastness, and to work on patina, aging, and this kind of property. So when I'm coming now to work at sites. So it's a question how to give this antiquity feeling through a replica, and by working with underground, the reproduction of underground environment, and also with the way you will guide through this replica. And we can also have these last questions when you have such a perfect replica. So if you have a migration of the heritageity, it's complicated, heritageity, so the property of heritage, migration between the original to the copy. So these are the main questions, and I'm coming now to the second point to give you more explanation and about this replica Chauvet 2. So first, the first choice it was to build this replica very close to the original one. So here with the map, this is the copy, this is the original one. So you stay in the same landscape, karstic landscape. The same choices have been done for Lascaux that you will visit Monday. But we have seen very quickly a picture of a Cosquer replica. It's a totally different choice that have been done, because Cosquer replica, it is in the middle of the city of Marseille. So in the middle of the city, you have a huge building, and you have the replica of the cave really in the middle of the traffic jump and the city life. So first, it's this kind of choices that have been done here. And in terms of frequency, now it's more or less between these two numbers. And one of the aim through this replica, it was also to change the tourism in this area, and to develop more the cultural tourism, to become a cultural destination. You also have something like a competition between Ardèche and Vézère to be a cultural destination linked with rock art sites. So in terms of copy, beyond this word copy, you can have different kind of copy. The choices that have been done in Chauvet Cave, and you will see in Lascaux 2 and Lascaux 4, it's also other choices. So it is to take some part of the real cave. So this is the real cave, and what you have in colors, it is what they have taken in terms of materiality with the 3D models, and how they organize all the pieces in the copy. So the copy, it's also a creation, basically. They combine some pieces, but in the new creation. And in the real cave, you go very deep to have the last part of the paintings, and then after you have to come back. In the copy, the last part is there, and then just after, you go out. So it's also not the same experience on this point of view. So it's not exactly a real copy. It's a mixed between integral copy and what we call anamorphose. So to change the shape of the cave, because also it is a very huge cave, very, very, very big cave. So it's not possible in terms of money and also in terms of place, because it is a very touristic place to find such an land to build such a copy, but also regarding funding. So this is a combination of the characteristic of a facsimile and anamorphosis, what I said. And it was a lot of care have been put to give an immersive experience with a lot of care how to rebuild the underground landscape and to give this sense of authenticity. And also they manipulate the humidity and temperature to give you the impression to be in the real cave. So this is the care to create the underground landscape. And then after, you also have the role of the guys and how they explained, how they manage the fact that you are going to visit a replica in order to have the sense of the authenticity and as if you will visit the real one. So, and on this point, it's very interesting to analyze the discourses of the guides because they speak about the replica. At the very beginning, they said to the visitors, when we are here at the beginning of the, before to enter, they have some information that they will visit a replica. But after the guides, they are told to not to mention again that we will visit a replica. And they speak about the paintings as if they are such old as they are in the real one. You can see here the way how they speak about the panel of the horses. So you see here, so it's remarkable when we think of the tools they had, that they were such masters at drawing. It's amazing, and notice, etc., etc., and with the date of the paintings, even if it is paintings that have been done 10 years ago. But they speak about the paintings as if they are so old. And this, it is also a technique that is used to give this feeling of authenticity. So I'm coming now to the last point. So the third one, how this replica is perceived by the visitors. So for that, we have done a survey with interviews with the visitors when they go out of the replica immediately at the end of the visit. To better understand several topics, their motivation to come in this place, what they have done, the interest to visit the replica, and their feeling when they visit the replica. And we try to diversify also the profiles between age, gender, nationality, and group composition. It means if it is an individual, a couple, a family with children or not, and things like that. So what we can see, the different motivation to visit the replica. So an opportunity, an interest in archaeology, and also for education to teach to the children, to show to the children what they learn at school, because people, they are interested in caves and paintings, and also because people, some of them, they are interested in the replica to see how they have done to reproduce a real cave. So if we consider this feeling to be in the real cave, the majority of them, they said that yes, they feel that they are in the real cave, even if they know it's not a real cave. They put themselves in such behavior that they accept it is a copy, but I will have the feeling of the real cave. And it is I don't know how to say in French, in English. This you accept to be in the fake in order to have the experience of the real. It's a process. Yeah, you understand? Yeah, okay. So for that, they mentioned that what played a huge what is important is this feeling of authenticity. So all the decor of the underground, the ambience with the temperature and humidity, the quality of the representation, but the details also that you can have, and the discourses also, how the guide directly connected with what you said before, what you showed before, the way how the guide speak about the paintings, and also because they have in this replica and audio guide system who helps to forget that you have other groups, because for sure you are not alone when you visit Chauvet Caves as a replica. So even if you stand in the front of the panel, you can see there are perhaps in your vision, you can see 5 other groups. But with this system, you forget the groups and you can be focused on the panel and to have also this experience to be alone in this replica of the real caves. For this, I'm going faster. And so when after we analyze the interviews with the lexical fields of wonder, emotion, feeling, connection to the past, so the majority also of them, they say that they express to have an authentic heritage experience. And so that's why I'm coming now to the conclusion. So what does it mean also, and the perspectives that we can have in terms of managing conservation and valorization for rock art caves, and rock art also in open site, because we can also imagine and to have replica of rock art in open site, as Oscar mentioned, also one replica that have been done in France. We can imagine for preservation, conservation, to close some rock art sites in Southern Africa for conservation purposes, and to have replica to do the experience. So, so this question, it's also the question here. You can see the people, the 47. He said that also he engage his body through the materiality. And this also, it's something I think important to have in mind when we consider the digital innovation, how to combine digital innovation, but also the way to engage the body through the materiality to have this experience of authenticity. So, time to conclude. We can see there is a dissociation through this study between authenticity, antiquity, and heritage making process, because through the visit of this copy, it's possible to experience the authenticity linked to the real cave. So it's another perspective also to consider what does it mean heritage. So it's quite a tricky question in France when you said, you provoked also as Aaron, and you said, so what is the sense, and perhaps I will provoke you by saying that, because they are in charge to conserve Lascaux Cave, people that you will arrive this morning and you will have talk this afternoon. What does it, how far it makes sense to conserve the real one when we have a perfect copy of the real one, because the real one is closed and we have a copy. And to conserve the real one, it's expensive. So how far it makes sense in terms also of heritage and experience. So voluntary, I make this provocation to open the debate. Okay, it's just to open the debate. So because this question of heritage also, it's linked with economic models. We can't dissociate these kind of things. We talked about that yesterday, and what you have seen, and the way also the French government involved heritage. It's also through the economics models we have in France. So, and choices, it's also choices in these economics models that you have beyond replica and heritage experiences. And yes, yes, it is what I said, more or less. So I finished.
Thank you, Mélanie, for a lovely presentation. My question is regarding the issue of spirituality. I've noticed that here, this side in France or in England, the people are accepting of the replicas, because I don't know how associated is the spirituality level with the cave. Because with us in Africa, it's not only about the arts, but it's also the entirety of the cave. So when you mentioned that you mentioned that Oscar has to do, that we could do replicas in some of the caves in Southern Africa.
No. I mentioned it's just possible also to do replica of open-air sites.
Open-air sites.
It was in France, basically, what have been done. But in terms of technology, that it's possible to do also replica of open-air sites.
But with us, the challenge is that we have to also consider the intangible of the heritage or the spirituality of the locals, because if we gonna create a replica, we are asking people to not engage with the spirituality level, which is a problem for us. It's a challenge for us to balance the two. How do we accommodate the spirituals, or do they call them the spirituals, or the spiritual values of the cave, because it's not only about the arts but the cave.
Yes, for sure. The fact that in France you have a discontinuity between the author of the sites and us, this question of spirituality, we are not have to deal in the same way. But yes, I think, Jean-Michel, perhaps you can complete on this point, because in Chauvet Caves, they try to integrate also this question of the sense of the cave through the way they shape the underground landscape. So, because you have been part of that. Yes?
Finish. Maybe I can give some more information and answer partly to your question. I decided to add something to the excellent presentation in the feeling of the association of the scientific team to the realization, to the production of the copy. When came the moment to give a validation to the copies of the panels, only for the panels, not to the whole cave, we have a decision to do. Was it true to decide that the best copy is a more precise copy, or that the best copy is a copy with the more emotional equivalent to what we perceive in the original cave? So we decide very clearly, because archaeologists were on the side of the making the replica and archaeologists were in the team, and we decided closely with the scenographers, the architects, and with Jean-Jacques Delannoy, with myself was directing, me as archaeologist and him as geomorphologist, for the quality, for the result of the replica. We decide to select the copy with a more emotion inside. The copy was the best in regard the emotion you receive in the cave. So sometimes, very few, we reject a copy because the red was not the exact red. So we said, more dark, more light, etc. But sometimes we receive copies because they were excellent. Not precise, but we receive the good emotion. And the second aspect was the origin of the decision of this production. We decide very early, because it was a problem of a big problem of money for this copy, we decide to present the panels in the real volume, in the real natural architecture, in order to respect the emotion you receive when you have the panel and the global environment of the cave, and the morphology of the cave, and the floor, and the water on the walls, etc. And this is, I think, in order to approach what you call the spirituality of the works of this kind of work art in a landscape. The only thing that is really missing in this copy is the real position in a landscape, in the original landscape, with the original spirituality and history, of course.
But yet, for sure, the question of intangibility and intangible heritage and how to manage that. But I was thinking when Jean-Michel was speaking that also sometimes you have some rock art in Southern Africa where you have some religious purposes. And the local communities, they are not very kind to open the site to tourism because they would like to protect the relations they have with ancestors. And so we can also, through a replica, imagine to have a replica that the tourists they can experience without to disturb ancestor also. It's also something that can be imagined, but after you also have the money of funding, of course. So it's but it's some choices that can be done also. I know that on some place in South Africa, some guide, they are now going to the rock shelter to purify the rock after visitors have been there to respect the place. So it is another way to respect the spirituality.
And sometimes, of course, spirituality or emotion is also not authentic. We create that, as has already been mentioned. So there needs to be some discussion about how much we impose our own spirituality or we impose our own emotion in order to create an experience. But on that, I was wondering to what extent then are these replicas now also being documented? Because if the original is totally removed at some stage or other, and slowly but surely the replicas need to be replicated, who is documenting where that original line was and where that original motion was? And to what extent, going into the future, because people see things differently now, we do digital things differently, it's completely different. To what extent will that new envisioning start to change the original? And does it matter?
Yeah. Now this, I don't know, perhaps, Oscar, you have the answer. Who is documenting, or, but for sure, for Lascaux, for example, you have Lascaux 2 and Lascaux 4. So the Lascaux 3, it is an exhibition with also a digital experience. It was in Johannesburg, Lascaux 3, many years ago. So, but for Lascaux, you already have two replica, which are totally different. You will see Monday. But who is in charge to be sure that the new replica is correct regarding the original one? This I don't have the answer.
I will try to give an answer very shortly. For me today, the end of this kind of copies and replica is done. The future of a good replica and a good experience is only in the virtual reality of the 3D model, is immersive 3D technology. You can yourself, everybody can experiment his own reception of the rock art in the real size, in front of the real color, in the real context. That will be the only good experience, and the reason why I expect and I work on this collective way to share rock art.
Apparently, we will have to move because the National Museum is, so they have to have their break. And so we...
C'est pas comme ça qu'il faut le dire, mais bon. If you have another question, we can take another one.
You sure?
Just one question. J'assume. Yes.
Non, Megan, elle avait une question, je crois.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Thanks. I was just thinking about authenticity from the perspective of epistemic violence and history, and I was wondering about how that authenticity, how multidisciplinary, how it's thought through in this context, and if there are other disciplines informing authenticity. You had mentioned that it's a very complex thing, and that where authenticity is kind of at the moment. So that made me think that there's a broader thinking of authenticity from a global South perspective. There is a sort of suggestion to spend time with the material remains of history, because so that you have this encounter. And I do think that encounters involve many, many senses, and I'm concerned about the digital space and being able to capture that. But anyway, at any rate, this encounter with the material remains to generate a kind of authenticity. But the reason for that also is because history has been written through many forms of power, and there's a lot of violence that's been done in terms of silencing. And so there's a concern around history. So there's a kind of a move to return bodies into spaces where history occurred, so that the construction of narrative isn't only done through particular lines of power, so that what is considered fact is broadened, and the embodied experience can come into the history and own it and have this authentic experience with it. And I was just wondering to what degree silence is working here when it comes to replicas. So it's just also a provocation. I don't have any answers, but it does seem like these confluences can be thought alongside each other to some degree. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. After like that, I don't know what to answer, but yes, it makes sense also to have this kind of question.
Because the engagement and the spirituality and all of that becomes silenced again, and so there's a mistrust, which I think is very critical, that needs to be kind of thought alongside and through, alongside all of the discussions of how to not to stop projects, but just to sort of sit in a sort of multidisciplinary, plural thinking way, I think.
No, for sure, it's interesting. But for example, if we cross with what we visit yesterday afternoon, so it's not a replica for sure, it's a real one, but how the real one is managed, you can ask the question of the loss of authenticity. For example, when you visit Cap Blanc, so Cap Blanc, it is a rock shelter, but it is totally closed, and so it's I imagine the meaning of the people where they have done that, it is open to the valley. And now it's totally closed. So if we go beyond our own projection of conservation that we have now, perhaps it makes sense to have another kind of protection of this site to, let's say, respect this connection with the valley. Or we can imagine to have a protection with a plexiglass, you know, with a transparent wall, to be in connection and to let's say, to have a more authenticity also of the place regarding where this shelter have been sculpted just up on the valley. But
Yes.
it's another way to approach this question. But your question, it's a very interesting question.
Can I add something? I was thinking about this when you talk about the casque on the head for the visitors. And maybe a part of the authenticity of Combarel, for example, is to be a small group inside the cave and to not cross another group and go far inside the cave, and to be just a small group and no noise, no such thing. And it's probably a part of the authenticity of the site. When you make the replica, it's not it is not in the mood. A replica of Combarel, maybe there is something to think about that. For me, authenticity, a site with a lot of noise, so silence is important, is a problem for me.
There's still a question of Anthony? The last
Allez,
one?
Anthony. Last one.
Thank you very much. I'm Modera Anthony from Kenya. Thank you, Mélanie, for presenting about the site integrity and authenticity. From the site I come from, maybe from the experience I realized yesterday as we were moving from one point of a cave to another, my site, despite having rock art, is it is rich of cultural values from many communities. Our neighboring Luya community traces their circumcision rite from our site. Two, our communities around also enjoy the spiritual nourishment in the same site. According to the way one of the caves I visited yesterday has been enclosed, does it mean it is going to bar those communities from the usage of the site? Because I understand culture is the past to the present. And I expected that from the way the sites were presented yesterday, there were a lot of restrictions. There were a lot of restrictions that, to me, I believe if that can be translated to our sites, it means so many people will be disadvantaged. Will it be in order for these communities to be disadvantaged? Thank you very much.
Yeah, basically it is one of the aim of this workshop. It is that you can see so different things, that it gives you also some reflection back regarding the place where you are, all of you working, because it is the best way to have a reflection also. So yeah, and to try to, for sure, when you have a cultural values, let's say, but a living cultural value, living heritage to a site, the connection have to be think in another way with the public. Yeah. Yes. On fait maintenant la photo alors ou pas?